everyone to this frontline webinar. I am your host Vedant Lakhera. India is the world's largest democracy, and over the events that have happened in the past few weeks, it is also one of the more less restless ones. For decades, political participation in India has been largely framed and scripted in a very familiar matter. Political rallies, which were organized by party machineries, votes, which were shaped along caste and community lines, and dissent, which rarely traveled far and beyond. But something is changing. Now, we have a generation that did not grow up with party manifestos, but framed its opinion through social media. The Gen Z, almost 400 million of Indians who were born after 1997. They did not inherit politics, they interrogated it, they fact checked it, they marched against it. They even memed about it. And over the last few elections, they have voted in a manner that has genuinely rattled the political establishment. But the question here is the Gen Z actually fixing the cracks of Indian democracy, the polarization, the shrinking spaces of dissent, the erosion of institutional trust, or is the Gen Z deepening them? Are we witnessing a new civic infrastructure, or it is just new noise? And today we're discussing that. And on that note, I welcome you all again. Today I have with me Neha, who is the president of the All India Student Association. I have Rahul Singh Kajla, who is the spokesperson of the National Students Union of India. And I have with me Vijeta Dahiya, who is the spokesperson of the Cockroach Janata Party. Welcome, everyone. So, Vijeta, my first question is that do you think that there's a significant divide between urban English speaking Gen Z and the rural vernacular Gen Z about, and is there a difference between their political behaviors?
Yeah, definitely there is. And I always say this that the Gen Z is not a monolith as normally people perceive it. And normally when we talk about Gen Z, living in metros. But if we see the needs and expectations and demands of the rural Gen Z, they are
Mhm,
actually quite different. For instance, the urban Gen Z, they are slowly waking up to new possibilities. The
mhm,
traditional job market, it is shrinking, and hence we hear things like gig and hustle and moonlighting, startup, Shark Tank. But
mhm,
the people in the rural areas, they were not able to get to even the traditional jobs as of now.
mhm,
So yeah, it is a different kind of challenge for them, and that is why that is also influencing their political behaviors. Because whenever people are distressed, so
mhm,
often they tend to look, towards the right. They want to believe in some ironclad man who will come and fix all the problems. So yeah, definitely I do see a difference.
okay. And Neha, I'd like to ask you, caste has always been one of the major issues of this country. Caste operation also has had its own role in shaping political narratives. And caste operation is still unaddressed and goes unaddressed in a lot of in the lot part of our country. Do you think the caste identity operate differently for Gen Zs? Are they more likely to cross caste lines politically, or has the social media reinforced caste-based mobilization?
So, caste, of course, it's the material reality of the people who live in this country, and that does not change when you look at a difference in generations. And yes, caste exists and has existed and persisted for so long because it is one of those things that has the capacity to adapt itself to newer technologies, new languages, new politics. And even right now in our generation, the way caste operates is very pertinent, very integral to our education system, to the entire societal structure. And yes, social media does reinforce it. But like always, with the incoming of technology, with the incoming of new advents, the same institutions that enforce certain structures in society also are used by certain sections in the society to subvert and transgress those very lines. So, caste is exactly one of those things. And we are living in a time where the state is increasingly trying to divide people into caste lines.
Right.
In the beginning of this very year, the introduction of the UGC equity guidelines, how the
Mm-hmm.
government brought it in, and then when it went to court, there the Solicitor General did not even defend it, while
Mm-hmm.
the Solicitor General has defended so many other policies and guidelines that the government has brought in. And then there was a very radicalized mobilization on the streets, people saying that we don't want such guidelines which address caste based discrimination in universities. There were upper caste groups asserting their identity, saying that we are not going to let this happen in our universities. So this was nothing but a reiteration of the age old tactics that institutions, public institutions, specifically the institutions of education, have to be reserved for certain castes.
Mm-hmm.
And the castes which have entered these universities, the oppressed castes which have entered these universities after years and years of mass movements, they have no place in these universities. And
Yes.
even if they do enter, they have to exist here and live here as second class citizens, the same
Right.
way as that is happening in our country. So it is getting reinforced, but it is also getting fought back, like it always happens.
Mm-hmm. Rahul, would you like to add something on this? On how Gen Z is, according to many, more susceptible to cross caste lines, but also the lived realities that we see every day of kids being lynched and harassed, students being harassed, even in metro capitals. Do you think that the Gen Z is different on when you talk about caste, or is it just same? Rahul, am I audible to you?
I actually can't hear you, Vedant. If you're asking me something, I can't hear you.
Neha, am I audible to you?
Wait, let me reconnect. I think there's
Yeah,
some connectivity issue. I'll reconnect.
yeah. No worries, no worries. So, Vijeta and Neha, both, I'd like to direct this question to the both of you.
Yeah.
We are a generation that gets its news from influencers and social media largely. But to bring about change, to bring, to protest and to bring radical changes, it requires years and, a lot of patience, a lot of unglamorous work. Do you think this generation is ready to sustain that kind of work to bring about a social change, given the rapid loss of attention that we are seeing and all the other things that amount to that? Neha, if you would like to go first.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Hello.
I really don't think. Yeah, Vijita, do you want to go?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you were saying something, you can.
So, yeah, I was saying that with a change in generation will not automatically lead to a change in status quo. The
Hmm.
material conditions, as long as they exist the way they exist, the things are going to remain same. The language might change, the aesthetics might change, the way protests exist, that might change, the way state reaffirms and reasserts itself, all of that might change. But a mere change in generation will not lead to a change in the status quo. Of course, there is a change in how we perceive community. There is a grave lack of community, sense of community, and there is an increasing emphasis on the individual with the advent of social media, which automatically brings about a sense of alienation. And therefore also, whatever movements that have gone on in the past, be it, I don't know, the bail that was granted to Kuldeep Sengar, the UGC guidelines, or right now the movement against paper leak, all
Hmm.
of these things, if you look at them carefully, you will find that a significant section of the mobilization, positive mobilization or the mobilization of resistance, took place on social media. So social media might not be a physical space. That is why, to the generation that is not ours, or that did not get a
Mhm.
phone in their hand as they were growing into adulthood, they might continuously doubt social media as a tool of organization, internet as a tool of mobilization. But I would and we would continuously reassert that even if a space is not physical, even if a space is driving political narrative, it is connecting people, it is becoming a way in which discourse is being directed, identified, settled, argued, negotiated, then that becomes a very important space. And that is why even for the Gen Z, even though we are lazy, supposedly we want easy answers.
Yes,
Now, being lazy does not necessarily mean we don't want to do anything. It might mean that we want to do things more creatively, or we want to
exactly.
do things, find new solutions to age old problems, because we think that the age old problems are too arduous, too
Mhm.
long and painstaking. Of course, that does not mean that the groundwork will disappear. The groundwork cannot disappear, because the rural Gen Z. So, yesterday I was in a protest in Uttar Pradesh, which
Mhm.
was against the mismanagement in examinations in UPSI, the constable, in recruitment in the post of constable, and the Lekpal examination mismanagement. A very large section of it came from rural Uttar Pradesh. And they were very clear. Of course, there was a difference in articulation of the entire mismanagement of examination, or who is responsible, or to what degree Dharmendra Pradhan or the Uttar Pradesh BJP government has to be held accountable. There was a very difference in articulation, but there was no doubt that people from different rural areas of Uttar Pradesh had come together, because all of them realized that right now, the way the education system is working, it's being sold to the highest bidder. It's a commodity in the market, up for grabs for anybody. And those people who live at the margins, who live in the rural areas, who don't have access to the same resources as we in the urban spaces, they have been betrayed. They have again been fooled. Their examinations have again been leaked, and the Uttar Pradesh government can keep on asserting that we are making stricter laws, and at the same time, every year papers can go on leaking. So there is, of course, a difference in articulation amongst the rural, the urban, difference in the caste divide, class divide, linguistic divide that exists. But the young people found a way, and have found a way, and will keep on finding a way to express themselves and express their grave disappointment in the current education system and the current system of employment.
Yes, Vijay,
Yeah,
if you like
and
to add. Yeah.
yeah, Vedant, I feel that the entire thing about Gen Z movements being a digital thing, I think it's a
Mhm.
very old school cynicism. It is the same kind of thing that when CDs and cassettes were coming, especially like the gramophones in old times. So people were very cynical. Oh, what kind of singing is this? Singing has to be live on the ground. But that was
Mhm.
happening. And similarly, when cinema came in, so people were like, this is so superficial. Theater is the real thing. So with every generation, we see that the technology keeps changing. And what actually matters is the views that people hold inside their head, right? Because it is the view that decides which party will they vote for. It is the view which decides, where will they spend their money. Will they buy stuff from some big brand, or will they try to go vocal for local, buying
Correct.
directly from the farmer?
Mhm.
So it is the mind which has to be changed. And so the message, it can be given on ground, it can be given online. Where it is online, it reaches lakhs of people at once. And now we have tested that this energy which we see online, it's not that is there just online. We have been organizing protests, Cockroach Janata Party protests, and people are actually turning up. They are cleaning the streets. They are coming up with their creative banners and posters and all sorts of things.
Okay. And while we're on the topic of Cockroach Janata Party, one of the
Hmm.
main ingredients of a successful political party is to have its ideological grounding. Uh, you see the demise or the proper not to demise, but like the downfall of TMC. and there are so many other political parties. Uh, they were not ideologically grounded. They were centered around one charismatic person. So, does the CJP has a coherent political vision, ideological vision, or it just takes oppositional stances on youth issues like paper leaks, unemployment, or corruption?
See, I won't be pretentious in saying that, oh, we have, some 100-page document here with us. But see, be it the people who are directly joined with the Cockroach Janata Party, or be it the people supporting us. One thing is common, that nowadays there is a vehement disregard for the kind of boundaries, for the cracks that there were earlier. Maybe the reason for it is, earlier people would say, oh, let's be good people, Hindus and Muslims, they have to live together. And now for many Gen Z people, it is a very obvious thing that, yeah, man, I don't care, like you're a Hindu or a Muslim, you are my friend. So those identities of caste and religion, they are weakening, at least in those Gen Z which are connected globally. You know, they are playing that game. Which you play with guns, PUBG.
Yeah,
Okay, and some person sitting in, let's say, Haryana or UP, they are connecting with someone in Seoul, or in Japan. So those identities are slowly weakening, but it is the systemic walls that are holding people back. So this is actually the kind of crisscross struggle. Like even in this protest, we saw this person Ujjwal and Harsh, okay, who are from the trans community. Now there were some right wingers who tried to mock them, but for the people who are protesting, for all of them, it was a unanimous voice that, guys, the trolls, you are a disgrace. And this guy, he is politically and socially aware, and he has come to the protest, and that's a wonderful thing.
okay,
So I think, I mean, there is where the hope lies.
okay. Uh, but I mean, talking to Ujjwal, who was in your protest, I spoke to them as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, when I asked them about their pronouns, they said that they're okay with any. In a post that you made some time ago, you said that gender fluid identities are a circus, but many trans people are gender fluid and non-binary. And for the LGBTQ community, it lies in the same spectrum. So, which trans people are you actually supporting? And how do you reconcile that telling gender fluid people that their identity is a rich person's hobby?
No. Actually, I explained yesterday also in a podcast with Harsh, also I told that the way people saw it, that Vijeta is supporting only a particular group of trans people and he's negating gender fluid identities. So that was never the intention. It is just that the space which you have in an Insta story, that is very limited space. So that's why I think there was some kind of misunderstanding. Okay, what I said, it was out of a feeling of deep empathy that there are various kind of personal subjective experience, and there are people who are in the trans-binary, there are those in the non-binary, there are also those people who want to be sort of streamlined, if you can say, who want to be seen as a normal men or women. So there are all kinds of opinions. There are people who want to explicitly tell their pronouns. There are some who do not want to declare. So what I meant to say was that the space, it can be more inclusive, and because the main concern was the kind of transphobia that spread in America, the paranoia that spread in America. I was particularly worried about this. So maybe, yeah, there was a problem in the framing because of the lack of space there. Yeah, but coming back to the point, what I said, that the way all the protesters, they unanimously supported them, and I am seeing this. There would be a group of friends where there is some Muslim and some Hindu and some Sikh. So
Mhm.
in the millennials, you used to see, you have to go over the board to express. respect that, oh, you are a Muslim, I care for you. But now there is a vivid disregard for those identities, and people are more naturally, more organically together. At least in
Okay,
the urban Gen Z who are getting a global identity. Yeah.
okay, okay. Rahul, I'd like to bring you in into the conversation. And I would like to ask you that student unions have historically been nurseries for political leadership in India. Are they still political nurseries that they once were, or has the pipeline broken?
I mean, yes, there have been a damage to the whole ecosystem, how the current government and the current regime has demonized students' union and certain universities. I mean, we had leaders like Ashok Gehlot, we had leaders like Sitaram Yechuri coming in from students' union. But today, if a president comes out and speaks against the system, against the regime, he'll either be labeled anti-national, or they will be consumed by the system in a manner where they are not able to speak against the regime. So yeah, there has been a degradation of students union. There has been a degradation of the entire electoral process. We have not been able to. I think the entire implementation of Lindo Commission was not something that should have happened in the manner it happened. I mean, we expect students to contest elections in a certain boundary, but that boundary is so small that it's absolutely impossible for them to contest election in that manner, right? आज आप जाकर के ये बोल देते हो, if a student gets a legal case against them, a criminal case against them, they cannot go and contest election in the students union. And at the same time, you are also expecting those students to come out and protest against the government. If they'll come out and protest against the government and the system and the regime will put them in the jail, put a case against them. Then how can both of these realities coexist? I mean, we have seen our friends from JNU, we have seen our friends from other universities thrown into Tihad for what? Just speaking against the government. So yes, there has been a serious degradation in students' union and the leaders that come out of students' union, but we are still hopeful. Recently, we saw that the Karnataka government has reinstated the students' union election. Himachal government also did the same. We are hopeful that the situation will get better. But yes, there is a need that the central government take serious cognizance of how universities and students' union are getting demonized today.
I'd like to add to that because you have been in student politics for a really long time,
Vedant, I think I
and
don't have your audio.
JNU. Neha, am I audible? Yeah. So you
Yeah, you
have
are.
been in student politics for a really long time, and you are in JNU. JNU still remains to be one of the last spaces for active dissent and active student politics. We've seen how Rajasthan, the student politics has been curved, and across many BJP and NDA ruled states. So, how do you think the ruling dispensation is attacking the student politics of India and trying to make sure that the students remain apolitical and, disenfranchised with the realities? Neha, you
Was
know.
this a question to me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, I think from the coming in of the Lindo Committee recommendations, the coming in of the Lindo Committee recommendations was a declaration that university elections, which were being guided not by money and muscle, not by the parent parties of the student organizations, but were in some way or the other being guided by discussions and debates. And this is a very big threat to ruling parties who have won elections, who have taken the soul and heart of democracy out of democracy and made democracy a show, a parade of how much money you have, how much state power you can organize and mobilize to your own interests. So it was that. And the coming in of the Lindo committee recommendations was a very big blow to student politics. But that is, I mean, there has been a significant amount of water under the bridge after that. But even now, the kind of elections, since I am from JNU and I did my undergrad from DU, if we want to draw a parallel between how the elections happen in DU and how the elections happen in JNU, Now, JNU as a university is a university, even right now, of progressive ideals, of resistance, of voices that can still find a comfortable place to speak truth to power, because its politics has sustained itself in in the left democratic space, sustained itself to be a kind of politics where if you have to win elections, you have to stand in a presidential debate, and everybody in the university is going to listen to you. They're going to send in questions to you, and you are going to have to answer. Where candidates who are standing against you from different organizations or independently, they will ask questions of you and you will have to answer. Where the amount of votes that you get is dependent on how many times you have gone to the hostel of students, how many times you have gone to the classrooms of students and convinced them of the fact that your politics aligns itself with the larger interests of the students. Whereas in DU, the DUSU elections that take place, they make a complete mockery out of the entire democratic process. It's not an election where you elect representatives who are answerable to you, who you will ever in fact see again in your classrooms or colleges. DUSU
Mm.
elections are a parade in power and money and muscle politics. DUSU
Yes.
elections are about how many people you can mobilize from surrounding areas, how many rallies of Thars, of luxury cars you can bring on the ground in North Campus, in South Campus, how many big hoardings you can drop from Hoskas flyover, North Campus flyover. So, when you make a mockery of the entire election process, you are telling students that we think you're not intelligent enough to identify who are the people who stand with you. You're not intelligent enough to know what is in your own interest, and that is why we're going to spend money, crores and crores of money, just so that you see our name everywhere, on the road, on tapris, on tea stalls, on flyovers, so that when you go and vote, you know nothing about your candidates. The only thing you know is that you have heard and read and seen this name so many times that you just remember the name. The distribution of pizzas, chocolates, the arrangement of trips to water parks, movie theaters, all of this, all of this is an open mockery of the democratic process in student activism as well as this country. Because democracy in itself means that everybody has a right, has equal right to make an
Hmm.
informed choice of the
Yes.
people who will represent them. So while there is a mockery being made in the country, where SIR is in place, where through the medium of the election commission, today elections are
Hmm.
being vastly manipulated. People are money where the people used to decide who their representatives are going to be. Right now,
Hmm.
representatives are going to decide that this is going to be the mass that is going to vote for us because it suits
Yeah.
our interests. Where on one hand, this is happening in student politics also. If you don't sustain the idea of discussion, if you don't sustain the idea of people making an informed choice of their representatives, you are not there is no point fighting. One is connected to the other. So people today who recognize the dangers of fascism, who recognize what it truly means that a democracy is in peril, must also recognize that the ground for this democracy being in peril has also been laid by several of the opposition parties while they were
Hmm.
in power, by several of the opposition parties and their student organizations while they contest elections in Dusu, in Punjab University, in Patna University, all of these places. I've been to all of
Yes.
these places. And
Okay.
democracy in student elections will only be present if you truly value and uh, place emphasis on discussion and debate and informed choice.
Yeah. Rahul, you wanted to add something on this?
Yes, yes, Vedant. So very recently, I was in Kerala. I campaigned from Kannur to Trivandrum. I from north to south Kerala. I covered the entire Kerala, and what I saw was very large gatherings and huge road shows done by my comrade friends, done by all political parties. Now, when we expect a student leader to
Hmm.
contest election in a certain way, whom do we learn from? When we were infants, we learned talking and walking from our elders. Is
Right.
this not the politics that we are inheriting? When we ask our student leaders to toe a different line, how is that possible? And are we not seeing the same kind of large gatherings in Thrissur? Are we not seeing the same kind of large gatherings in Bhawanipur? Are we not seeing the same kind of large gatherings in Gujarat? We are. Are we not seeing the same kind of car rallies in different parts of the country during the Lok Sabha elections? We are. Then how do you expect a utopian world inside a
Mm-hmm.
university where elections are contested in an entirely different way? Yes, I support that students' union elections and protests can raise the voice, can start a conversation, but policies and way of life will only be towed down from those who are up there. The problem today
Okay.
is our average age of the country is 28, but our average parliamentarian's age is 56. I think the Gen Z can fill the cracks, but the Gen Z first needs to believe in itself. And we need to
Mm-hmm.
also isolate ourselves a little bit from the utopian world that we believe in. Today, yes, I can play game with somebody who's sitting in Seoul, but
Mm-hmm.
my village's panchayat group every day talks about whether the ration has come on time or not. The problem
Mm-hmm.
of people who are there in villages, this is 2% of population, 1% of population that we refer to when we said that it has globalized. But the problem today in Odisha, the kids are facing the problem of mining. उनके स्कूल के अंदर माइन का डस्ट आ रहा है, वो उनका प्रॉब्लम है. Today, a kid
Right.
has stopped going to school because their school has been merged with another school, and now the school is transferred 10 kilometers far from his home. Right. When my
Right.
friends from a certain political party say that, okay, now car rallies से अगर आप गिराओगे, आप उधर फ्लाईओवर से इतना गिराओगे पर्चा, तो आपको वोट मिलेगा. Are we trying to infantilize the voters of Delhi University that they can be bought by pizzas and milkshakes? Now these same voters will also come to JNU, right?
Rahul, when you say that this is the politics that we inherit from our leaders, I, in my introduction, also said that we're also a generation that interrogates the politics. So, while I do largely agree that a lot of politics, the political mentorship comes from the old people, we also have to stand and, act with our own agency. If you particularly talk about NSUI, you can see in the DUSU elections that there is a lot of muscle flexing and money flexing. But at the same time, if NSUI contests election in JNU, they always adhere to the rules. So I think it comes because JNU has that very stringent policy of no money flexing, no muscle flexing. So I think that is where the political parties are drawing the line, even the student outfits are drawing the line. But Vijeta, I would like you to jump into this topic
No, Vedant,
and yes,
just 10 seconds of
yes, please.
so are we trying to homogenize the way in which every university should contest elections?
No,
Do
we are
the
not.
students of Punjab University have to contest the elections in a similar way that JNU has to contest? Or the students of,
Why
I
not?
think the students of Delhi, I think that students of Delhi University and Punjab University are sane enough, are learned enough to decide for themselves. And I think we should stop infantilizing those 18 years old, 19 years old, and 20-year-old students. They can decide who should they vote for, and they I think are very well aware that where is their vote going. I don't think
Okay,
they are things to be bought.
okay. Vijeta,
No,
would you like to add something? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know why Rahul sounds so offended. What Neha stated, it is an absolute reality. Matlab, in this, we did actually see luxury cars, coming in and people getting trips to water parks. And yeah, I mean, this is not the case with JNU. JNU, people are there in, kind of presidential debates, which is actually a sane way of doing things. So there is nothing like, killing the diversity and homogenizing. Of course, the democratic culture has to be brought in into all the university elections. And in fact, what the DUSU elections, they are kind of a microcosm of the national elections. The national elections also we have seen the same thing. One person's face being plastered on all the walls and TV screens and Instagram and podcasts, like everywhere we are seeing the same face, and that's what we say, a Modi wave. The Modi wave is basically a marketing wave, right? And what Rahul talked that the material realities and various places are different. Of course, the realities are different. But what I'm talking about, that this global connect, how it affects is that earlier, let's say 30 years before, we would always think of a paradox that the air conditioned seminar halls in Delhi, the constitutional club in Delhi versus some remote town in the middle of nowhere in wilderness in Bihar. Okay, but now the good thing that is happening is that there is at least a connection. That village in Bihar, of course, I know that the structural reality it is dark and the problems they are massive, but at least there's a flow of the ideas, and that's why I see some people, let's say in Rohtak or in UP, some people who are from the lower economic section, they are also quoting Bhagat Singh that, oh, I do not think that Bhagat Singh was just a guy with guns. Bhagat Singh, talked about farmers and he talked about the laborers. So we are seeing that kind of change, and it's really a welcome change.
Now I have a question for all three of you, and I want you all to please share your perspectives. We now live in a generation and in a reality where visible dissent is often criminalized and really, looked down upon by the elder generation, at least. So, how does the Gen Z navigate the tension between, wanting radical change and the social costs of visible dissent in our generation? When you have so many, surveillance, you have so many sedition laws, and even family pressure, even something that someone says online can land them into a lot of trouble. So, how does Gen Z navigate through this and make their voices heard and express their dissents?
See, the problems have always been there. We have seen atrocious regimes even in the past globally, but people chose to speak up because after a point of time, if you do not speak up, then there's always a danger that you will be silenced for forever. And even in today's scenario, yeah, we have seen that there were FIRs on 106 people simply for showing a poster Modi Hatao Desh Bachao. Okay, and there have been cases and all sorts of things. But now people realize that okay, one person, he is coming from America to India, and there's a Cockroach Janata Party, and they are calling in protests. So of course you have to get over that self-censorship. You have to win over your fears. And when you see that yeah, thousands are coming in, okay, man, like let me also go in. And yeah, this is that collective energy. That collective energy is taking over, and people are joining. And this is the only way. Until the time only a few people will speak, the danger will always remain. But if the entire country starts speaking up, so of course the government cannot throw the entire country in jail.
Yeah, but like we're talking about surveillance. So there's this person, Shabnam, and there was one Instagram creator who used meta glasses to talk to them and mock them. And Shabnam had in a video that they released recently said that they maintained and they tried very hard to not get into public spaces, but now in the last 2 weeks they have been bantered, bashed, and mocked around so much. So this is the problem, and this is where I want all three of you to please share your insights that how are we tackling surveillance and how are we tackling these fringe elements? And when even the ruling dispensation does not want us to dissent. Neha, if you would please.
Yeah. So just as state repression does not look the same across different times, across different countries, resistance cannot look the same. It's not logical. And today's time, where there is increasing surveillance, like you said, we are adopting our best methods from Israel and America because we are completely hand in glove with their own states at such a time where surveillance technology is 1,000 crores and crores of rupees, millions are being spent on buying surveillance technology from Israel, implementing the worst kind of repressive measures that the Israeli government has invented for the Palestinian people. We are importing this into our country. and using it against our very people, the government is using it against its very people. The introduction of something like meta glasses, where what has been enshrined in the fundamental rights given to us by the constitution, the right to freedom of expression, that is being taken and turned into something which becomes a violation of somebody else's privacy. That is
Exactly.
happening. And you gave Shabnam's example. They have they and the video that they put out, they say that I have never made my identity or myself present on social media, and it took a lot for me as a non-cis person to not make myself visible on social media. On social media or on ground, people like Shabnam and others who are constantly on the margins, who have been marginalized further by things like the trans bill that was recently brought in,
Mhm.
that was passed from one house to the other, bulldozed without any form of listening to the opposition. The very committee that sat to advise the government on policies with regard to trans rights, they were being overpassed, they were being overlooked, and the bill was passed. So bills like that, and in the current times, if we have to fight a government like that, if we have to fight a state like that, which is more powerful than ever, which is trying to consolidate every means of check and balance on the government under its own wing, be it the election commission, be it the judiciary, the way people are inculcated into the judiciary, that system in itself has been changed. The collegium system has been completely changed. And it is not a surprise that one after the other, the judges appointed in the highest of the courts, the Supreme Court, the High Court, they are currently towing the government's line. So, from every institution, the dismantling of all institutions that have, at different points of time, been constituted to uphold democracy and not to uphold the state, they are being taken over currently. And therefore, resistance in today's time will look different. I think it would not be possible a few years ago that if you are protesting in JNU against the, and if you're taking a long march, JNU takes has taken out so many long marches in defense of people's movements and policies that have against policies that have gravely affected the people, taken out so many long marches to the Ministry of Education or different other places. This has not happened that people in JNU have been sent to Tihar. An activist of NSUI, he was protesting in a different matter, he was sent to Tihar. So this kind of crackdown on student activism is unprecedented. There is no doubt. We might we might have differences with all of the bourgeois ruling class parties or all of the opposition parties also, but we are unanimous in our understanding that today's times are unprecedented. The crackdown on people's movements, of which the student movement is a part, is unprecedented, and therefore the articulation of the student movement has to be different.
Yeah.
The consolidation of the student movement, the unities that are forged across student organizations, across party lines, that has to look different. There is no place anymore for sectarianism. There is no place anymore for dividing ourselves on our uh, party lines instead of consolidating ourselves on common agendas. For example, currently, the movement against the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan and exposing that Dharmendra Pradhan might be at the center of this rot in the education system, but his resignation is not the answer. Exposing that is going to require so much of consolidated effort from all of us, from us in ISA, from activists in NSUI who have been doing wonderful work, who have been protesting across the country, and from people in the CJP. And that is why I think that today's time is a time of a united front in all aspects, be it saving democracy, being saving electoral democracy, being consolidating ourselves on people's movements, be it consolidating ourselves as student organizations. This is the time of the united front. And in this, all those organizations which have earlier said that they are bigger parties, that they are the primary opposition, or they have the maximum eyeballs, they are the viral thing, they are the it thing at the time, all of them, all of us also, even in the left, who say that we are the most righteous, we are the most moral, we have to come down We have to come together, because without us coming together, we are doing nothing except betraying the people, betraying the student movement. We
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
come together in today's time. And that is why all of the repression that is being handed out to students today
Mhm.
has to be handed out, has to be, we have to all endure it together.
Yeah.
And it has to be on the fundamental aspects of how we exist as a human society.
Yeah. Rahul, if you would please add to that, and I would also like you to express what you feel when we saw the Cockroach Janata Party protest and it was handled so peacefully. Even the fringe elements, which is a rare win for Delhi police, that the fringe elements were detained. Whereas when the IYC and the NSUI was protesting, they were met with water cannons. Uh, so how do you look that upon that? And yeah, please tell me about this.
I mean, I'll not be able to add much on what Neha said. I had some connectivity issue, but talking about the nature of protest that we saw, I think
Mhm.
I fully second what Neha had to say. Protest cannot look same, dissent cannot look same, it cannot be homogeneous, and I fully second that and stand with that. And I think any and all dissent should be encouraged. If anybody raises the issues of students today, whether it be the NEET issue or the CBSE issue or any other issue, we stand with them. We stand in solidarity with them. But at the same time, I mean, it did raise some issues. It did raise some concerns. Like when I'm talking about myself, not anybody else, even from my organization, when 20 of us were protesting outside of the Doordarshan Bhavan for something that their anchor said, we were thrown to the heart for 15 days. And when somebody from the US comes, when Mr. Dipke comes from the US, he's escorted by the PMO security. I mean, that did raise some questions and some speculation within the civil society, also within people of my age group as well, people who are not political as well. Because when we go and seek permission from the Parliament Street Police Station, it takes them 15 days to give us permission. But CJP got the permission in 15 minutes. Very good. Everybody should get that permission in 15 minutes. But if somebody is getting that permission in 15 days and the other person is getting that in 15 minutes, that does raise some concern. But good luck to CJP for all of their upcoming protests and issues. And I hope that beyond these protests and beyond the issue of NEET as well, CJP will be able to come up with some sort of policy structure, because as I said before, protests can raise and start conversations, but it is policy which resolves the issue. We have the NEET paper leak issue, but I'll tell you, we have another NEET issue, that is um, not in education, not in employment, and not in training. 25% of India's population is facing that NEET problem. 40% of India's population, which is under 30, is facing that problem. How will we tackle that NEET problem? Yes, there are issues that the youth is facing. Yes, there are problems that are there in the country. Yes, there are cracks, but those cracks can only be filled. That the we are talking about class division and division of caste, right? I think the caste division, the first step that should be taken is via enabling people economically. When Baba Sahib Ambedkar said that first step towards freedom is that of economic freedom, I fully stand with that. Why is it happening that Rahul is sitting in Jaipur today, has all the means and resources in the world, but if there is a Rahul sitting in Bansur today, he has to struggle for salt and wheat? I think that's the problem that we need to tackle. But coming back to the question that you posed, I fully second and stand with the issues that CJP is raising today. Good luck for their protest. And I hope and believe that this will not become again like one more India against corruption movement, where the people who are protesting against corruption themselves are the perpetrators of corruption today.
Okay. And why didn't the NSUI join forces with the CJP? Were NSUI or IYC approached to join forces for the CJP with the CJP?
I mean, Vedant, joining force does not only mean to protest at the same place. Second, we have our office on 5 Raisina. Uh, Anybody from the CJP can come to the office, ask us for whatever support that we can provide. I welcome them. We'll have tea and coffee together. We'll discuss the students' issues. But we don't know where is CJP's office? Who do I reach out to? I mean, I DM their social media handle, but no response. And I don't even trust social media. What if Instagram goes down tomorrow? CJP will collapse. Instagram एक बड़ा oligarch है. Mark Zuckerberg cannot control my dissent and my voice in the country, right? I need to be on ground. So it will be better if they have some sort of office. But the reason why we could not physically join their protest was we have done over 80 protests in 80 different cities in the last 1 month or so. That is NSUI alone. Dozens of our student leaders have been detained and arrested by the police on this issue. Our president, Vinod Jakad, was day before yesterday in education minister's constituency in Odisha. He campaigned, he did a march there with 10,000 students. So that was the reason why we could not join the protest physically, but we stand in solidarity with anybody and everybody who's raising the students' issues.
Do you think that there is a future scope of a partnership or a
Yeah.
collaboration with the CJP, Rahul?
Vedant can't hear you.
Rahul, I'm asking you that do you say and do you think that there's in the future there's a scope for a partnership with the CJP? I think we've lost Rahul. Yeah,
Okay,
Vijeta, if you would like
Vedant.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, yes,
yeah, I would
please.
like to respond.
Mhm.
Yeah, so now Rahul can get in touch with me through you because you were
Okay,
saying
yeah,
that
definitely.
he's not having
I'll give him you.
yeah.
I'll give him your number. Yeah.
Yeah. And secondly, he said that it's an Instagram page. But again, already talked about that, that old school cynicism about, online not being the real thing. So I think we have to get out of that old school cynicism. And as I said, what matters is the view that people hold inside their head. And that view is communicated online as well as offline. Okay, so there is no point in disregarding something as, oh, this is just online. There's no point in that. Secondly, what Rahul said about, Deep K getting the permission. So instead of being cynical about something, maybe he can pluck a leaf from there. He can learn NSUI and Congress can learn some lesson. The thing is that CJP it amassed 22 million followers, and they were not followers bought by anyone. They were all genuine followers. So of course, when BJP thinks of this, that 22 million people, like 2 crore 20 lakh people are following them, and you know everyone is waiting upon them. So of course they do not want to disturb things. They do not want to make it a mess for themselves. So maybe what Congress can do is, what it has been doing recently. I think that's really amazing, and I hope that this momentum continues, where ground cadre is mobilized, more and more cadre is built up. People have always been saying that, Sachin Pilot, youth, youth in politics and all that. But Sachin Pilot, he never really got the chance. And now he is not so young anymore. So I think Congress has to do this thing to build new cadre, to mobilize them. And maybe then they will also be able to build this kind of pressure that, government will be afraid to detain them and government will have to give them permission. Also, the second thing which Rahul talked about, changing the economic reality. So, of course, the speeches and everything is fine. Okay? We can give those long speeches that, yeah, that has to be changed. But what Congress lacks is a proper structure. Like again and again on Instagram, I have talked about this, that Congress needs to provide an alternative, and I hope Rahul or Congress party at large takes it as a constructive criticism. Okay, I only mean it for their good. That the states in which Congress is ruling, be it in Himachal or Karnataka, they have to present a new alternative. Like in Bihar elections, Congress said we will give, the alliance. I mean, that we'll give one government job in every household in Bihar. Of course, we know that's not possible. There are not as many government jobs even in entire India. So a new model of which Gandhiji said, Gram Swaraj, decentralized economy, where people can work from the comfort of their homes, micro businesses can be set up. I think in 2019 elections, Rahul Gandhi had announced that all the red tapeism and the clutter around that will be cut down, and people can start their businesses instantly. So that was something which was really admirable. And Congress needs to take on such things that, remove all red tapeism. Government is ready to do the hand holding if you want to do some business, construct millions of micro businesses. And that is how people will get the employment. So this kind of a clear model has not come up, and that's why probably the Congress speeches lack some steam. And as CJP came in, of course, it is not a political party, so there is no point in competing that, oh no, we are better than NSUI or this. Yeah, and if NSUI is doing the protests in various parts, I mean, that is also amazing. Just one request: no point in maligning youth movement. Or no
Yeah.
point in finding faults that, oh, it's an online, or why were they not detained. I mean, why that unnecessary negativity?
Yeah, Rahul, I'll just give me a second. Vijay, I'd like to fundamentally disagree on the point when you say that the NSUI and IYC can learn something from CJP. See, it's they also. I've attended a lot of protests held by NSUI. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not about getting the permission or not. It's about you getting the permission and them not getting the permission. That is where I think Rahul would fundamentally disagree as well. And yes, Rahul, please. Now you can please make your points.
First thing, Vedant, I had this thought since a very long time in my mind. Yes, 22 million followers, very nice. Virat Kohli has, I think, 100 million followers. Do we make him the prime minister? I think our average TikToker has around 10 million followers. Do we make them the chief minister? Okay, very nice. You have support of 22 million people. Out of those 22 million people, 3 million are mutual with BJP. 4.5 million are mutual with the Congress party. Now, who are they supporting? BJP or the Congress party? Odd 3.5 million are mutual with Rahul Gandhi. Who are they supporting? CJP or Rahul Gandhi? Right. Okay, you have support of 22 million people. Very nice, very good. Raise the good issues, raise the right issues. But what is the roadmap ahead? What will happen after the okay tomorrow if Dharmendra Pradhan resigns? After that, क्या करोगे? उसके बाद में क्या होगा? Right. Another thing, what is the biggest issue for me? Your voice and your biggest platform is something which is controlled by the friend of a person against whom you are protesting and dissenting. मार्क जकरबर्ग की आपका कल वो अकाउंट सस्पेंड कर देते हैं उसके बाद में क्या होगा? राइट और ये जो लोग म्यूचुअल में आ रहे हैं ये लोग कौन है? Yes, I've taken notes on the issues from on which we can learn from the CJP, and we'll definitely learn from CJP on those issues. But at the same time, I think it'll be very helpful for people at large and people like me, जिनके सवालों का ये जवाब अगर उन्हें मिल जाता कि क्यों ऐसा होता है कि एक जो प्रोटेस्ट करने वाला साइड है, they get thrown into Tihad, whereas the other side gets security and escort from the Prime Minister's security. That is unprecedented. None of the civil society people have gotten that kind of support. Also, talking about mass movement and mass support on the internet and on ground, I think the Congress party also today has a lot of leaders who can who have internet support as well as on ground support. You see Sachin Pilot, Kanhaiya Kumar, these people have millions and millions of views on their YouTube and Instagram, and also like when they go on ground they get that kind of support. I think these things are secondary. At this time, all of us should stand together and raise the student issues. And what the only request that I have from the entire panel is if we can put up a way forward, if we can give an idea of way forward. The issue of raising micro businesses is very nice, but Vedant, I come from a village which is secluded village in Rajasthan. For us, government job is the only way possible for a shift in our class structure. अगर
Mhm.
हमारे को गरीबी से कुछ उत्थान की तरफ जाना है, then government job is the only way possible. We
Yes.
will put in years and years of education to become a first grade teacher, to become an RAS officer, to become an IS officer. Micro business cannot be, it is very difficult. It's like a utopian dream to conduct a micro business from a village. Yes, there is connectivity of internet there. Yes, now a person sitting in a village can see Instagram reels and can create platforms, right? But that connectivity also gives people a sense of isolation, That somebody who's sitting in Delhi can go to Starbucks and live that lifestyle, but I'm in village, I don't have money, I only have money to recharge my mobile phone.
Hmm.
Okay.
Moving on with the topic, I would just want to address Vijeta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you said that in a video exchange with Politics, you said that women in the country are not political. At least most of the women aren't, and due to media
No, no,
and kind
no.
of
What I said
let
is
me
that media shows it.
okay, yeah.
Media shows that them in that way. Yeah.
Okay, and you also said that women don't follow CJP because they're more interested in makeup and shopping. This in the CJP
No,
protest
no,
that happened in
no, no,
Delhi.
no, 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 no. No, no, please do not misquote me. What I said
Okay.
is, Gitanjali asked that, do you see that there are more women, sorry, I mean, women are less following the CJP. So what I said is, that on an average, I mean, even when I see the stats on my Instagram, like on my political posts, so I do see that 80% of the audience it is male and 20% is female. And I asked this to Sarthak Goswami, I asked about this to Arpit Sharma, and all of them report a similar finding. So that is a fact, and I was ascribing the reason of that. That like in media, again and again, we see thousands of songs are made on women's beauty, right? चांद सा
Vijeta,
रोशन चेहरा जुल्फों
uh,
का रंग सुनहरा.
yeah,
So there is a societal pressure. I never
uh,
said that women should not do makeup or they should not beautify
yeah.
themselves. They can, but I was talking about that societal pressure. Those stereotypes which are forced on women and on men are like different kind of stereotypes.
Now, Vijeta, when you say that you see your own statistics on Instagram, don't you think that's a very universalized stance? And in the CJP protest, the left supported you. It was Neha from ISA and
Yeah,
Aishi Ghosh from SFI. That's
yeah.
really rich coming from you when the biggest supporters of your protest were the women from the left. How do you
No,
explain that?
no,
Yeah,
Vijay
Neha.
Lakshmi was
Yes,
also
please.
Vijay Lakshmi was also there, and Neha and Aishi. And again in many press briefs, yeah, like I have told that yeah, Neha has been there with us, supporting us all throughout, and she's a wonderful speaker. Of course, we have said that. So again, I mean, I don't know. The thing I said, it was so clear cut कि मीडिया में बार बार दिखाया जाता है कि औरतों को ऐसा करना है बट गीतांजलि देयर आर सच a पत्रकार like you and there are women like Neha who are there. So what I said was very clear, and some people like Amit Khilor and they deliberately misquoted it because of probably some personal beef or something. But anyways, so yeah, but I just said that yeah, more and more women need to come up, and of course uh, really respect that Neha is so outspoken, and yeah, I mean
Yeah.
such clarity of mind, of course.
Neha, how did you feel when you heard those comments?
Um, Actually, see, the comments that were there were very bizarre. And the whatever. So, Vijeta, when you open your profile and you look at the insights and you see that it's 80% men and 20% women, it's not a comment on the women. It's a comment on a system which enables and provides more access to men than it provides to women. It's about the access to leisure time, which men can afford to dedicate to social media or looking at reels, and women cannot, because working women will go to work and come back and house to work. And women who are not working, who we called housewives, they also, I mean, I think there's nobody who works, there is no person who works harder and whose labor is more invisibilized than a woman's labor. So, in that regard, this is not a very simplistic transition. Your insights are a comment on the system in which we exist, because of which more men have access to internet, more men have access to resources, more men have access to leisure time. Also, and also, um, regarding, because I am a gender non-binary person and I have been sent that clip of yours, that status of yours where you talk about how it's a rich person's hobby to self-identify, the right to self-identification, which is at the center of the of our struggle for against the trans bill. That when you question that and you say that it is a rich person's hobby, or you say that, due to a lack of space I was not able to explain it to you, I am saying all of these things, all of the articulations that you have been provided, you are providing as somebody who would want, and I'm saying this, please take this as constructive criticism, as somebody who would be looking for a way to make the CJP into a conspiracy, or as somebody who would be looking to say that the CJP does not exist and it's only the government which exists and CJP has so many opposition, as somebody like that, when you make comments like this, and then when somebody asks you to provide an apology and you double down on it, that is just going to provide fuel and they're going to drag you through the mud in that comments. And as somebody who might support your movement and want your movement against the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan to get stronger, I would advise that instead of saying that I did not have space, or instead of saying that I did not mean it, even saying that the society has conditioned women to think about shopping and makeup, even that is not a correct statement. And I think,
No,
don't clarify, just offer an apology, because you are saying that this is a Gen Z movement, and a Gen Z movement really, really cares about what views you put forward and how you put them forward, and they care about your honesty when you're being corrected on them. So both lines, I'm telling you, as somebody, if I want to discredit CJP, I will drag your comments through the internet, erect an entire ecosystem to say that, look, this is this chairperson, this is the spokesperson of the CJP, look at his misogynist and transphobic views. And as somebody who would want to support your movement but might disagree with
Mhm.
your comments, I would still say you should apologize. And this is the entirety of the spectrum of the people who are
Neha,
supporting.
Neha,
Yeah.
for me, it's a principled position to never be given into any kind of blackmailing or any kind of digital heckling. Okay, so if somebody says, "Oh, apologize," or "I will do this," okay, I never do that. Secondly, I'm not a politician who will, people are getting angry. Okay, let me say sorry and be done away with it. When I say that these were the comments, those were the comments, and I read, what the people wrote in the comments. All the common people, they were very clear. All of them were telling Amit Khilot that, Amit, what are you talking about? What Vijeta said, do you not have those basic comprehension skills? And again, Neha, what you said, that yeah, because of patriarchy, women have less leisure time. That is also true. But what you are saying and what I said, those things, they are not mutually exclusive. Both the things are true. Of course, women have to manage the household and they do have less leisure. Also, we can say that yeah, women, there are less number of women overall on the social media. But what I said, that is also another truth. How can we simply discredit the entire conditioning of media, of newspapers, of everything? We see the same scene in films again and again and again, where a man is reading the newspaper and a woman comes in, Aji, chodo na ye akhbar wakbar. We see the scene again and again, and of course, media has its influence on people. We cannot discredit this obvious thing. So you telling me that Vijeta, you will have to apologize or I'll do this. So if that kind of situation emerges, I'm very happy to simply step down as a CJP spokesperson, but I will never be blackmailed or digitally hacked by anyone. Because if I start apologizing because of that, I'll have to apologize to so many people. The Brahmins are angry with me, the Jats are angry, Muslims are angry, Hindus are angry. Vijeta is Hindu Virodi, Muslim Virodi, Brahman Virodi, Jat Virodi, this Virodi, that Virodi. So it means I just won't be able to speak up. This is exactly what the Andhas, the BJP people do. They keep heckling you. You said this, apologize, apologize. But no, digital heckling is not there. And the honesty which you talked about, of course, if I had that kind of intention, of course, I mean, apologizing is not a big deal at all. But there cannot be an unnecessarily admission of guilt. That the remarks about trans, that also I have clarified that it was said about out of deep empathy. And yeah, maybe there was a misunderstanding. And this these comments about women not being in politics, the comments are so clear, but there are some liberal elites who want to put you down. But yeah, but digital heckling or I mean blackmailing, that will never be acceptable to me. And whenever you say I'll step down, if my party, if CJP feels that Vijata, because of you, the movement is being maligned or the movement is taking a back seat, I mean, nothing really matters to me more than the movement, more than the people.
Yeah, Neha.
Rita,
Yes.
do you support the right to self identification? And do you stand in solidarity with the people fighting against the trans bill?
Yeah, I already talked about this. I did a video with Harsh Yadav. So the remarks are out there.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm
Yeah.
asking you, do you
Like, see, what I said is, there is an objective reality. Okay, that is sex. Sex is a biological reality. And there's a personal subjective experience. And both the things they can coexist together. And of course, I respect all kinds of subjective experience. Anything which goes against negating any of those experiences, yeah, so I am against them.
Anyways, that's not what I was just asking if you stand with the right to a person's right to self-identified with the gender of their choice, be it gender non-binary, be it gender fluid, be it man, woman, etc.,
Of
etc.
course,
And
of
yeah,
course, of course I do. Of course I do.
so if
I never
women,
said that I don't. I never said that I don't.
so if you do, then that entire community understands self-identification in a way, and they are asking you to correct and better your understanding of self identification. And that is all that this is about. This is not heckling, this is an appeal to you as a person who we feel might align with our interests in our larger interests in the long run, to correct his
Neha,
understanding of identification.
Neha, you literally said I will drag you, so you can drag
I
me as much you
try
want.
to drag
Yeah. I mean, but digital heckling is not acceptable in any way, be it from the underworlds or be it from the liberal elites.
see
And
Vijeta, I said,
and, and I never said that I was against people self-identifying. What I had talked about in the status that there are hundreds of laws which are sex-based. So maybe if we talk, then we can find an amicable solution which does not make anyone paranoid, which is inclusive for everyone.
who is getting paranoid? See,
And,
मैंने
and
Anyways.
बोला कि I will
हाँ,
drag you. I said कि अगर कोई इंसान, there is an entire
mhm,
ecosystem which wants to discredit the movement which is demanding धर्मेंद्र प्रधान's resignation. अगर वो
yeah.
सिस्टम को आपके कमेंट्स मिलते हैं, वो आपके सारे कमेंट्स इस्तेमाल करेंगे to drag the movement through the mud. And there are also people who support the movement and who want this movement to get stronger. वो भी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं कि आप अपना समझदारी बेहतर करिए. तो ये जो एक कोने से दूसरे कोने के बीच में स्पेक्ट्रम है, उस सब में जो लोग आपको सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं से लेकर के जो आपको डिस्क्रेडिट करना चाहते हैं, उन सब के हित में है, मूवमेंट के हित में है कि इस समझदारी को बेटर किया जाए. ये मैंने बोला. एंड ऑल्सो इफ
N-
women are not
n-
encouraged to do politics, men are also not encouraged to do politics. अगर महिलाओं को बोला जाता है that you do shopping, you do makeup, then men are also told to do different things like look at
yeah.
jati, dharm, all of these things, right? So engaging with something like the movement for the demand for the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, that becomes a different thing. So these comments are still not fitting. That's all I'm saying.
No, no. See, आदमी को भी men are also not encouraged to join politics. But you see the reality. And there is patriarchy, right? In the panchayats and everywhere, there have been men. It has been a man's forte. So it comes naturally to them, and women are actively discouraged from joining politics. They are told that it is not a women's job. Again and again, we see those stereotypes being forced on women.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
so whatever I say, Neha, I do not say things that this will help strengthen BJP or sorry CJP. I mean, we are not that kind of political party. What I believe in is honesty. Okay, and Vijeta is a nobody. Vijeta is just one spokesperson. Vijeta can go, Neha can take in. But what Vijeta says, he says it out of honesty, not because of being blackmailed or not because of being cunning or something that, oh, my demand will be supported if I can say this. No. I say things out
okay.
of honesty, and that's the only way I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can call it quits right here, and we'll just take one comment as we're at the ending of this session. We'll take one comment and one question from our viewers. Uh, Kavya, can you please show the question on the screen? Yeah. So Noida protests were criminalized for asking basic rights as wages. We see CJP as a safety valve for Gen Z upsurge, a preemptive strike unlike Nepal, Bangladesh, Kenya, Sri Lanka. So what do you guys feel about this? Rahul, I would like to start with you since you have been out of the conversation for a while now. So I'd like to start with you and tell us about how you see this question and what do you feel about it?
Vedant, I'm extremely sorry, but I will not answer this question. I'll just take 60 seconds because what was said, I cannot be a part of this forum where things like this have said. विरोध और घृणा में फर्क होता है। जो आपसे नीचे होते हैं आप उनका विरोध नहीं करते, उनके उनसे आप घृणा करते हैं। विजेता ने जिस प्रकार की बातें कही थी महिलाओं के बारे में, वो साफ तरीके से दर्शाते कि वो ना केवल उन्हें अपने से नीचा समझते हैं बल्कि उनसे घृणा करते हैं। वो जिस हिंदी पट्टी से आकर के और ये जिस प्रकार की बातें, उनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग सिर्फ सेंट्रल इंडिया की पॉलिटिक्स तक लिमिट रह गई है। अगर वो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जाकर के देखेंगे, देयर इज वुमेन रिजर्वेशन, वुमेन रिप्रेजेंटेशन इन पॉलिटिक्स एंड वेरी nice women representation. There is very nice women representation. When I was in Kerala, I saw very nice women representation. ये वो लोग हैं जो घर के अंदर चूल्हे की आंच में अपनी महिलाओं को जलाते हैं और घर के बाहर सती की आंच में उन महिलाओं को जला करके और उनकी जो आंच से रोशनी निकलती है उससे अपना शौर्य प्राप्त करते हैं। इनके आंदोलन को पूरी ऊर्जा दी गई है 3 महिलाओं के द्वारा और इन्हें शर्म नहीं आती कि इस प्रकार की आकर के बातें कर देते हैं। एंटायर काडर वो जो वहां पे उस दिन जंतर मंतर पे था, 800 लोग थे इनके, उन 800 में से 600 लोग इन 3 महिलाओं के द्वारा लाए गए थे। मेरा सपोर्ट सीजेपी को हो सकता है पर इस प्रकार की विचारधारा को नहीं हो सकता। मैं यहाँ पे नेहा, विजेता या किसी व्यक्ति को सपोर्ट करने नहीं आया। मैं यहाँ पे उन 1 करोड़ लोगों को, उन 1 करोड़ युवाओं को सपोर्ट करने आया था जो हर साल वर्कफोर्स में आते हैं लेकिन उनके राइट्स की बात नहीं करी जाती। ये व्यक्ति जो एक यूटोपियन वर्ल्ड में रहता है कि हमारा जो यूथ है वो सियोल में जाकर के गेम खेल लेगा। भैया जेनजी का वर्ग वो भी है जो गिग वर्कर का काम कर रहा है, जो जोमेटो में डिलीवरी कर रहा है, जो नरेगा में मजदूरी कर रहा है। आप उन लोगों की आवाज उठाते नहीं है और आकर के यूटोपियन वर्ल्ड की बातें कर देते हैं, कह देते हैं कि मैं माफी नहीं मांगूंगा। ऐसा व्यक्ति जो माफी नहीं मांग सकता, जो खुद को एक स्टेप पीछे नहीं ले सकता, वो क्या युवा वर्ग का रिप्रेजेंटेशन करेगा? आई डोंट हैव एनीथिंग टू से वेदांत। दिस इज, if this kind of a person is representing CJP, I don't think they are going far and ahead. It's
Yeah.
absolutely
Okay,
nothing.
So Vijeta,
okay, okay.
we're really out of time. We're really out of time. We can take this conversation offline,
J-
and
uh,
we
just 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. This
please
is the
wind it up
typical thing, you
because
know.
please
I mean,
wind it up
on Godi
quickly.
media,
Yeah.
on Godi media channels, I see it every day. You know, BJP spokesperson, they will pick a line, you know, what Congress said, and they will blow it. You know, oh, he said this, and the reverse will happen. I mean, this is very sly, very cunning. What I said, it is apparently clear to all people. And Rahul, however much you try to defame me, people they have a mind of their own, and people are using their mind. Okay, and the
Okay.
person
Yeah.
who
Yes.
asked the question, Satish, Noida protests. Yes, if anyone has raised a voice about Noida protests, nobody has raised it more than me. You can go to my Insta profile, you can check. Even in all the press briefs, in all the podcasts, I've been repeatedly again and again, I've been talking about it. At least 20, 30 times I've talked about Noida protests, and people are not getting minimum wages, farmers not getting anything.
Okay, and that will bring us to the end of this webinar. I would I would thank all our viewers for
Vedant, can
joining
I
in.
answer this question because there is something that's going on? Okay, if you're, I'll just
Yes,
take 1 minute.
we're really running out of time. Can you please just
Yeah,
crunch
sure.
it and
Yeah.
express yourself
So,
really quickly?
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's an again and again there's a repeated articulation saying the Gen Z, the Gen Z. It has been coming up as a matter of political discussion and mobilization, but nobody wants to talk about the fact कि नोएडा मानेसर उससे पहले बिहार उत्तराखंड में जो protests हो रहे हैं by gig workers, a large section of the gig workers is the Gen Z. They are people who don't even have minimum wages. They are people when they rose up again in demand of their minimum wages and dignified living working conditions, they were sent to jail. People have been in jail for more than a month. Some have been released. Last week only they were released. And today also there is a convention right now in Delhi which is addressing this. And all of the activists, the student activists, as well as journalists who have posted about it, talked about it, they are now being brought under the scanner. There is a student of Delhi University, Yogesh. There is an artist, her
Hmm.
name is Shrishti. All of these people have been arrested under bogus charges, and all of those young people who are part of the Gen Z, and hence we have to address it as a student movement. They are under jail, they are in jail because not only did they never even have the opportunity for formal education, dignified quality education, they were also, in the lack of all of this, forced to work under undignified conditions for bare minimum wages, under factory workers which would not even let menstruating women take leave, which would not even grant women separate toilets for them to use. So all of this protest, because we're a student movement, because this is a political discussion and it will have eyeballs, we have to talk about this, and we have to talk about the fact कि आज के समय का Gen Z does not look like, all of them does not look like the same. सब
Same.
फोन पे रीलें नहीं बना रहे हैं, एक बहुत बड़ा, सब लोग जंतर मंतर नहीं आ पा रहे हैं या किसी यूथ कांग्रेस या ऐसा के प्रोटेस्ट में नहीं आ पा रहे हैं. They are people different from the student community also, but they are the Gen Z who are struggling on an everyday basis for dignified living conditions, for minimum wages, for basic workers' rights against the labor code. Yeah.
Neha, I
Yeah.
started the
Uh,
discussion saying this, that Gen Z is not a monolith. There are people who are from the rich
yes. Yes.
sections and poor sections. So yeah, I had started the discussion saying
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So on that, we can end this webinar now. I would like to thank all our viewers for joining in. I would like to thank you, Neha, for joining us. I would like to thank Vijeta for joining us for this insightful session. And I was also like to thank Rahul for joining us for this session. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Vedant. Thank you.
Thank you, Vedant. It was a
Thank
joy.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.